Hi, this is Mr. Denny. I'm just going to give you a little more instruction on your personal monthly budget. You should have this created as already, something similar to this at least, maybe with different numbers and such. I want to just go over a few other things in regards to this budget. First off is that right now, as it stands, we can only keep track really of 1 month at a time as far as the actual income and actual expenses. So a budget, remember, is estimating a month ahead in terms of how much you think is coming in, money coming in and money going out, and you want those two things to balance. But then at the month's end, you want to kind of check to see how well your estimate was. Okay, so then you type in, maybe keep your receipts and then type in how much you spent actually on these expenses. And if you had an extra one, then you can add another expense here that you can expect. Okay, and you keep on doing that for several months, and then you realize that, hey, if you realize after those several months that you have a difference in terms of how much you're actually spending and what you're estimating, you need to update your budget, update your estimate. Okay? So, in other words, I don't want just one column here for 1 month. In fact, I want a few columns here so that I can put more than 1 month's actual income and actual expense on here. To do that, I select this column and I right click, and I can then insert a column to the right, and I have a blank column now. And I'd say let's do 6. Let's do all the way January through June. So I'm going to select this column, right click. I'm going to do it so that I have 6 columns here. And then I'm going to type in the months. And kind of a cool thing here about Excel is that it has some artificial intelligence. If you have 2 months typed in, you can select those 2 cells, and then you can go to the lower right hand corner, this little blue square, click and drag it, and it'll automatically keep consecutively putting down the names of the months. Okay, this works with numbers as well. You have like 1, 2, you can select those 2, grab that blue square and drag and pull it down, and it automatically calculates. Another quick thing you can do, since we're going to want to have 6 months for each expense as well, add some more columns. Actually, I don't have to add them because they're already blank over here. Another quick thing, instead of typing in January, and February, and all that, you can drag, click and drag. I'm going to copy these, so edit, copy. And if I go to the first cell I want to paste them in, I can go to edit, paste. Some little shortcuts here working with the sheet. Alright, now you should notice, actually there's kind of an issue here. This is where my estimated income for my Wendy's paycheck is. And then January's right next to it. I don't want that. I want the actual income. I want to be able to report that at the end of the month. So I need to bump this line up, but without bumping the rest of this stuff up. And again, to move cells, you can just, select and then grab it with the hand and move it around. You can move more than one at a time. So if I select all these, I can grab and move all up at once. Do the same thing over here. Oops, maybe too far. I'm going to Control Z to undo. Do that one more time. Move it anywhere I want and move it right. Okay. So now I got a space to kind of account for my actual expenses in January, February, March, April. And if I notice that, on my fast food I'm spending on average more than 30 bucks, and I probably better change that. All right, another way to keep track of each month, okay, is instead of adding columns in here, you could duplicate. Okay, you could duplicate a whole tab here. So if you look down here, there's these small tabs. So instead of doing what I just did, in fact, I should be able to just go backwards here. Okay. I'm gonna undo everything I just did here. And instead of making columns, if I want to have it in my one tab here, this open, not quite so much information, I can go down here and I can right click and I can duplicate. And I could call, this one January, this one February, and I could organize myself that way. So just another option for it. Okay? And you can rename these things by right clicking and going to do them. I'll delete this though because I just want to do it. and I will put back what I just did here. Hopefully let me do it again. Redo what I just did. Okay, that's okay, because fortunately I have something else. Okay, so this is what we just did. Now there's a couple things different here. I added some borders. I do want you to know how to add borders as well. So I'm going to undo this so that it will match what we've already done on the video up to this point. Alright, this is what it should look like here, what we've done for the video this one. Alright, two things. Before I do the borders, I did merge some cells. And what merging means is you take one cell and you take many cells and you make them into one. So because the actual income kind of is a heading that goes with all of these months, I wanted to merge this one cell with all these cells over here. So I can click and drag to select all of them, and then there's a button up here that says merge cells. Do the same thing over on this side. Okay. I'll undo what I did here. Okay, so click, drag to select, click this button to merge cells. Borders. Alright, how do we do borders? Well, similar process. You click and drag to what you want to border. In this case, I wanted to kind of set income apart from all the stuff that has to do with income apart from all the stuff that has to do with expense. So I clicked and selected all the income stuff. There's a button up here for borders. And there's lots of different ways you can border. Okay, a border is just a darker black line around the cell or around a group of cells. In this case, all I want is a border around the edge. And do the same thing with the expenses here. Alright, final thing that I want to look at here is, actually two final things. I talked a little bit about, I didn't talk much about how we come up with an estimated monthly income. I just said you guys figure out how to estimate your monthly income and put a number down. The issue is that a lot of our bills in our society are come monthly. Alright, car payments, utilities, a lot of stuff comes monthly. So we usually make our budgets a monthly budget. Okay, at least the lowest, it's kind of the least amount of time we make budgets on. It's usually a month, okay, month to month. But the problem is not all of us get paid monthly. Some of us get paid per week, some of us get paid every 2 weeks. So to get a good accurate estimate, you need to do a little bit of math, okay, depending on how often you get paid. Alright, let's imagine that I get paid per month, and let's imagine that I get paid $120 a month. Okay? Now, some of you might say, well, let's multiply that by 4. That's how many weeks are in a month. Not necessarily the case. In fact, the only month where there's 4 weeks in it, at least if it's not a leap year, is February. Okay, because there's 7 days in a week. 7 times 4 is 28 days. It's the only month that has 28 days is February. Okay? The other ones are going to have 4 weeks and some days. Okay? So in order to account for that, okay, we can't just multiply by 4. And I should wrote $420 a week. So, okay, we can't just multiply it by 4 to get to a month. Instead, we have to multiply it by how many weeks are in a year. And there happens to be a set number of weeks in a year, 52 weeks in a year. So if I take 120 times 52, that will give me my yearly income of, in this case, 6,240. Okay, I'm definitely living in my parents' basement here. I'm not making much money. And that's per year. Okay. Per year. Now, why did I do that? Well, you'll see in a minute here. There is also a set amount of months in a year. Remember, we're trying to get to a monthly budget. So we've got a yearly cost. Now I can divide this number by 12, because there's 12 months in a year, and that will give me an accurate estimate of my monthly income. $520. So we can do all this, instead of writing all this out in lots of cells, I can do all this in a very simple function, kind of almost like a calculator, okay, in a singular cell. And I'll click on here, I already did it. If I go up to here, what I typed in, okay, this is what I typed in the cell, equals, to tell it that it's a function, and I said how much I get paid per week. I use an asterisk for multiplication and a slash for division. So 120 times 52 divided by 12. Okay, and that automatically will calculate a good estimate of how much I make per month. Alright, now as you notice, that's quite a bit different than if you're just multiplying by 4. 120 times 4 is 480. That's $40 difference. Okay, so we get a better, more accurate estimate of our average monthly income if we use a formula like this. This formula only works if you get paid weekly. But it's pretty easy to adjust if you get paid every other week. Instead of multiplying by 52, you multiply by 26. Because if you get paid every other week, you get paid half as often as if you got paid every week. So 52 divided by 2 is 26. Right, but I'm going to assume that I get paid every week. I'm going to delete all this stuff. Okay, so this is what I want to see, the formula like this on your estimated income. Okay. And the final thing that I wanted to show you is it's real easy to copy functions as well. So if you notice, remember from our last bout, we did sum of B5 through B12 right here. If I click on the cell and I go up to the function and I click in there, it tells me, hey, I'm adding up all this stuff. Well, you're going to need to add up all the months too after you type in your receipts, or keep your receipts and type in what you actually made. Okay? But an easy way, instead of having to type in this sum function every single cell, is to click the cell, go to the lower right hand corner where the little blue square is, click and drag it across. Okay? Well, right now there's nothing written in here, so it's going to be 0. But if you notice, if I click on the cell, I go up to here, look, it changed. Instead of adding the B column, it added the C column. Again, a little bit of artificial intelligence built in here to help us. Alright, we'll do the same thing over here. And that way, when you use this budget to kind of check, when you check this budget, these estimates, it'll automatically sum it for you. And notice I'm negative 30 right now, so that means I need to make a little more money or cut back in my expenses to balance stuff out. And let's say I want to keep my savings up, so I want to pay my savings first. I want to pay myself first. It's probably the most important thing to do in a budget. So I'm going to have to work a couple extra hours. I'm going to ask if I can work a couple extra hours. So I'm going to estimate I can 130. And because this decimal stuff I don't like, I'm going to format it to currency routed. There we go. In fact, I'm going to format this. I don't like all the decimals, but I don't really want dollar signs here. So another way you can format it without decimals is there's a tool button here somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to go up to, oh wait, right here. Increase and decrease the number of decimal places. So I'm just going to decrease to, yeah, okay. All right, now as far as if you're working for assignment on this, I want you to submit this as a Microsoft Excel. Okay, so you're going to file, download as a Microsoft Excel document, and then upload it to the assignment. Okay, that's it. Thanks.